welcome everybody. What we're here to do today is talk about transdisciplinary projects and specifically how you can help to get them to happen, because they're a bit more difficult to get going than maybe some projects that you're just working with smaller groups of people on more simple problems. So we're going to share some learning today and share the journey that we've been on in catalysing these projects in Edinburgh. And here's one I made earlier, which is a wee takeaway for you today of our learning. So I'll sort of tell in the story a lot of what this is covering, and that'll come away with you later in an email. So actually on your tables, we've invited you to write your name and email address, because there will be quite a few links and things we'd like to share with you. So please do go ahead and write your name and email if you would like us to send that to you, including that nice wee graphic. So first of all today, I'm actually going to do a wee exercise with you before we come on to that picture. I'm a wee bit nervous myself. Yeah, so, and also our heads are probably buzzing, as we say in Scotland, from what we've heard already this morning. Come on in, guys. So I'd just like to invite you to take a wee moment and sit comfortably with your feet on the floor and sort of look down at your sort of knees and put your shoulders back. And then take a breath in for 4. Hold your breath at the top for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then let it out for 6. We'll do that another 2 times. In for 4. Hold at the top. And out for 6. And this time, as you breathe in, take your shoulders up to your ears. Hold at the top for 4. And then out for 6, and take your shoulders back down around your back. So it's a nice big circle. We'll do that one more time. In for 4. Hold at the top. And out again. Thank you, that's helped me out immensely. And it's also just part of being here, sort of now, in the room together. So let's go. So I'm going to now hand over to Adriana for our wee energizer. Yep.
And now that you relax, we're going to warm you up again. You came here for a reason. You came here for a story because there's only something in the invitation that resonated with you. And, that's better. Okay. And just to make sure for everybody also to see, like how you relate to the topic, I'm going to ask you 3 questions and you're going to respond simply with your body, okay? So you're going to rate yourself or your relationship with 3 questions on a scale of 1 to 10, when 1 is the lowest and 10 is the highest. And I can see some people stretching, so if you feel like stretching and it could suit you well, you can even stand up for this little exercise, okay? And then, so 10 is going to be when your hands are up, okay? So the scale, when you're higher, that's when you are rating yourself as a 10. And when your hands are down, when they stay down, they are the 1 or the least. And then somewhere in between, you can kind of pick your scale, okay? So I have 3 questions. 1 is, and just to make sure I don't forget any, how important, on a scale of 1 to 10, not really, and 10, yes, man, like it's all about it, how important is collaboration in your work? On a scale of 1 to 10, let me see you. Oh God, just look around, okay? We are checking relevance of what we are talking about. Good, even 2 hands up. Thank you very much. And then, how do you rate, and we are talking about transdisciplinary collaboration, okay? We are talking about the collaboration between society and science, yeah? So how do you rate the effectiveness of transdisciplinary collaboration in your work right now? On a scale of 1 to 10, you're not really collaborating well. 10, it's all about collaboration, we are all in. So show me. Show us. Okay, somewhere. So effectiveness, its presence in your work. And then when you think about yourself as a potential facilitator of that connection, of that collaboration, how able do you feel? So how do you rate your ability, your skill, your readiness? How able do you feel to foster, to facilitate transdisciplinary collaboration? How does that feel? Don't be shy. Yeah, okay. Thank you. So just look around. Collaboration, a big thing? Is it really working? Maybe. We're going to hear a story about, one story about that. And then how you feel about it, it's going to be like a good playground to see where is the space for you to grow and what you want to do about it. So.
Great. Over to Jenya.
So the mic I have here. So what's today's session is about? Today's session is going to be, as Claire mentioned, in the form of the workshop. And then we invite you to hear a story, our story of our journey expanding and the existing transdisciplinary antimicrobial resistance network led by University of Edinburgh, and experience a workshop with us, your facilitators, Claire, myself, and Adriana. We really wanted you to imagine you in a little bit of a different space. So when we will be telling you the story, we really would like you to really pay attention how you feel, both head and heart. See what's arising within you and what resonates and what doesn't. We will have the time to digest the story together through collaborative exploration and conversation in dialogues. And we also will have the time to process and make meaning of what we talk about here together with you today. The story map, briefly, Claire mentioned, we will basically, this story map will represent, represents the story that we went through, the whole journey. But we don't want you to focus on it too much right now. We will show it again at the end. So now, over to Claire to start our story.
All right, so our story begins with me getting in touch with this fella here, who is a guy called Till Bachman, who is a clinician, a diagnostics expert, who works in antimicrobial resistance in Edinburgh. Now, he has worked on a project that I would call is really transdisciplinary. And I didn't really know what transdisciplinary meant. And actually, in the process of going for the bid that he wanted to go for, which was specifically in the title, Transdisciplinary Network to Combat Antimicrobial Resistance. So first thing is, well, what's that? What do they mean? And it was a UKRI cross-council bid. So there's lots of different perceptions of what the word means. But he had already in his work worked in India, in rural communities, with this other person here who is a service designer from University of the Arts London, Alison Prenderville. And they worked on going out to rural communities and speaking to people there who were experiencing antimicrobial resistance problems, mainly with urinary tract infections, and asking people how they were being helped. How could they get access to treatment? How did they know what was happening to them and what treatment they needed to get? Where was that help? And how did the whole system work? So what they're really trying to do is talk to the people with the lived experience of these problems, map out how that network works, and then feed that back into the research so that whatever diagnostics tools are developed, they know can be used and adopted by those same people who had the problem at the end. So that's really what we were trying to do. Now, how do you do that with something as complicated as antimicrobial resistance as a problem? It is a very complex problem with lots of different contributing factors across a global scale. And Till, for better or for worse, wanted his network to be around One Health antimicrobial resistance, about animal health, human health, and environmental health, and the interplay between them. Because even with antimicrobial resistance and urinary tract infections, you can imagine that these reservoirs of infection are cycling round. So if you just try to target human health and you don't take into account the other areas, you're not going to address the problem for those people with the lived experience. So, how did we do this? We assembled a team to help him to go for this bid, okay? And just spoiler alert, we did get a lot of partnership and a lot of contributions towards this bid. So for a 650,000, wow. UKRI have never done one for 650 million. 650,000 pound bid, we actually raised commitment in kind of 5 times that value, 2.6 million pounds. But to do that, we needed to mobilize a bigger team than usual. So there was 3 business development people, not just one, helping till, me from Arts, Humanities, Social Science, and my colleague Marina, who facilitated with us, and also my colleague from Medicine and Vet. And then some people from Edinburgh Research Office, Strategic Bids team, and also from Till's school, Hilary there, she's the head of biological sciences. So it was a big team to work on this, bigger than usual. And we also brought in Christy Doherty, who is our collaboration expert, who works in Edinburgh Futures Institute, because academics, to use a different approach, need to be told by another academic of the reason why. So Christy has done a PhD in the art of collaboration. And what she has found is that it is hard. It is hard, and it takes a lot of resource, and it takes a lot of effort and planning, and a lot of lead up with people actually coming together to think together. Now let's just do a wee pop quiz again. I won't make you stand up, but raise your hand if in your work you have blockages and problems with inflexible structures and silos. Yep. Power imbalances. Yeah. Leadership tensions. Yeah, so it's all sounding quite familiar. And this one is actually quite important for us. Emergent versus planned approaches. Yeah, so allowing people space to actually create things together, or co-create, as people like to say now, rather than having a more linear process. So you'll already be working on bids and projects that have, lots of co-investigators, for example. What tends to happen is that the different disciplines get different little work packages, and, the principal investigator says, you deal with that one, you work on that one. This is a different approach where they're coming together and actually having to do that work together to see where the interplays are between the disciplines, and also to commit to learning about each other's work. So it's not like I'm the social scientist and you're the clinician and we're working apart. It's just like that photo was. They are sitting together, doing the work together, and learning about what each other do. So the change in mindset is relationships first. And that's what we're going to tell you about today. So Jenya, how did we respond to that challenge?
One clicker?
Yes.
Perfect. So how did we approach a challenge of bringing people together to collaborate? It's not just about gathering individuals in a room. Talking to Teal from the very beginning, we understood it was a complex challenge she was facing. And complex challenges require different type of approaches. Why is that? I'll quickly just, this is a little bit few characteristics that we probably all, have seen in complex systems. So we never have a complete picture. The first one there. Everything is unpredictable. Everything is always changing. And, there is always emergent criteria, phenomena that defy planning, because things are always on the move. So that was first thing. And then what is important when you're dealing with that is having kind of strategic planning in mind. So just looking beyond just first workshop. looking at it as a series of interventions through the workshops or otherwise to keep the momentum going, to keep people and participants and people who are gathering at the table to keep going on their quest. And then what kind of space we wanted to create? We wanted to create a space where people feel open. We wanted to feel invited and collaborate together, wanted them to feel invited and collaborate together. And also, Claire said at the beginning here, why she's a business development executive, coming together to do something meaningful. So they would need to really feel in a space how to have a sense of shared purpose. So these things are the how of the journey. And the how of the journey for complex challenges of transdisciplinary nature is as crucial as the what that you're trying to achieve. One other aspect, one note to mention is also to kind of drive more innovation and really seed information not in a linear way. We need to kind of also be open and prepared to be a little bit uncomfortable in those spaces, as well as keep attention to what is emergent and constantly pivoting, because the things that we started with, they keep changing. One of the important things what we also did was the design for harvest. And design for harvest has two aspects to it. One aspect is to be able to really understand what's happening, what the objectives are. We talk to the caller, we really carefully design the questions, and then we really find the right methodology or different tools to make sure that those, we're moving and really meeting different things, the soft things and the hard things. That's one aspect. And the other aspect, really, how many of you guys been at like team meetings or like, leadership retreats where you come in and there's a great energy in the room, there were like some really great ideas surfaced, but nothing really happened after. And after like a couple months, people forget about it. And then all that sort of seems like that energy went away and the effort went away. So it's important to sort of have that. What kind of insights and data do you want to gather, and what are you looking to achieve, and what do you want to make actionable? So really gathering those insights and putting them in a way synthesized where you can action them and use them sort of as a tool to make sure those actions happen are also key in the process. So now, Claire, what happened at the workshop?
Well, thank you. So we had 40-ish, can't remember exactly, 40-ish researchers come together in an initial workshop that Till arranged about the bid. So he gave them information about what this bid was for and what it had to do. And then we broke into a workshop session where we were tasked with coming up with themes for the bid. So under that One Health agenda, what themes could we work on and work up a bid around? So it was a 2.5-hour workshop, and it involved people from across all of our 3 colleges. So social scientists with medics and everything sort of in between. And what was actually happening? Well, they were working in groups around those themes, and they were negotiating language with each other because, of course, nobody really speaks the same language. They have obviously different skill sets, so they were trying to unpick a little bit of that with each other. And they were also discussing who else they would have needed to bring into the network for this transdisciplinary reach. Who are the organizations they work with or know of out there in civic society who can get to those people with lived experience and bring them in. And then what they wanted out of the network, because again, this is what's in it for them. That's a motivating factor, right? And let me tell you, it wasn't money, because this wasn't a network there to do research that was funded. It was simply funding a network to form. The research funding would come later. But also what they could contribute to the network. What happened by design was that everyone was heard as well. So in such a hierarchical place as a university, it's actually quite a difficult thing to do. There were PhD students in here, there were very senior professors in here. So they were at the same table talking about stuff together, which you don't see a whole lot of across disciplines. Now that was it was discomforting and it was a bit uncomfortable particularly with the emergence. So people were sort of saying, I don't know what you do. Well, I don't know what you do. Well, let's try and figure it out. And that is a bit uncomfortable. But it did mean that there was a lot of different perspectives brought to the challenge. It appeared quite messy. You know, it was quite noisy. People were getting up and trying to stick things on. People were disagreeing about how to stick things on the paper. And, you know, so it was a bit of a messy process. And I can tell you that, you know, academics struggle with that because they like sort of controlled processes normally. It's a generalization, but, you know, it was a bit of a shift away from the norm. But to help with that, we did have facilitators at each table helping keeping people on track and helping capture all that data. Because as Jenya said, we're really doing this, and a lot of why we're doing this is to get that data to help the bid process and to build the network. Of course, the building relationships is also crucial, but if we don't capture the data, we can't move forward towards the bid and the goals. So something really interesting happened in this room. There was a PhD student who had a bit of a conversation in open forum with a more senior economist. And that seemed a bit uncomfortable to people because here's an early career researcher sort of sparring with a principal investigator. And it was all about what value means. You can imagine sort of social scientists from a more social justice perspective arguing with a hard economist about value. But actually, at the end of the session, when we did a plenary, and we asked people, what did you get out of today? What are you taking away? That same senior researcher said, my idea of what value is in this context was changed. And he was also willing to have his mind changed in that way. That is the beauty of these things. Now, sometimes it can get difficult and stay difficult as well, and we have to also cope with that in the process. But that was one where they actually did manage to come to some resolution together.
So what were the learnings at the moment in the workshop, Claire?
Yeah, so we took away the information in the form of these posters that you see, as we'll do with you today as well. There was an acknowledgement of the diversity of the different disciplines and perspectives and job roles. There was also the acknowledgement that this did need to be facilitated well and spaces held carefully. So there needed to be some expertise in doing that. And of course, our principal investigator, that's not what he was super used to. You know, so you can't expect, you know, principal investigators in something that's not to do with collaboration to know how to run networks or do collaboration. You know, you have to have those people brought in. And we also found out that those initial themes that we decided on needed to change because they weren't going to work for everybody. And then it was also that they knew, or sort of knew of, whom they could bring into the network as well, which of course was great for the business development executive, because we were going to have to start reaching out to those people to get letters of support. So good data. So what else did we ignite as part of the workshop?
So so now I'm going to take a step back. So we were like in the workshop time, we're like time traveling in the workshop time. But then after the workshop and sort of like with the all activity, what did we achieve? So, you know, we really needed, this first workshop really helped to get the buy-in from the participants and seeing like the feedback from how they're feeling, who wants to come to the table, why are they here in the room? And also, you know, this is very important step to catalyze the process, to start catalyzing it, to make sure that things are starting, connections are starting to form, and people have the engagement in their hearts to actually do this type of work together. So what was also very interesting is that we, you know, as I was saying at the beginning in strategic planning, we intended for momentum to be kept and for interventions to happen. But we got the validation in the workshop that that's what participants wanted to do. They felt there was something important here in the room, and they wanted to continue working together, and then you needed these kind of spaces that you will experience later today to do that. Not in the typical meetings when people are talking at you, but when you're conversing with each other. Another thing was, as Claire was saying, so I won't go too much into it, but themes, Professor PI, the main PI, already knew the themes, but we didn't want him to sort of impose his themes. We wanted to source themes from from the people and, across disciplines. And there was a validation in the workshop of the themes, and they formed, and also there was acknowledgement, as Claire was saying, that they will keep evolving. But the beginning scaffolding was starting to be put in place, as opposed to working in a complete ambiguity. As Claire, so from the workshop, Teal could move ahead, refine the themes, concepts around some of the new ideas that emerged in the workshop, and then we came out with the potential draft starting point themes, as well as like who else. The next workshop was over 120 people across the United Kingdom, and basically it was a better idea as to who else do we need to bring to the table? Who else do we want to collaborate with to continue building this AMR network and, preparing for the bid? And those were like important takeaways. And then Claire, what else were the outcomes?
All right, so finally, the next stages were that we got some more investment from the university in this pre-award process. So we managed to stump up some cash. So you might have little pots of cash, maybe like, knowledge exchange and impact funds and things. So we managed to get some money from our Wellcome Trust fund for translational projects to run 2 more workshops. And Edinburgh Futures Institute, the Data for Children Collaborative, actually came in to do those. And they were written into the bid. So if we had won the money, they would have done this networking work and held those spaces going forward for the network. So we got that buy-in, basically. And then in the next 2 workshops, we started off with the University of Edinburgh, but different disciplines. The next ripple out to the next workshop was that we involved right across the UK, academics from right across the UK to come in. And then the final ripple out in the 3rd workshop was around their partners coming in. So running a workshop like this, involving the external partners now as well. And then, we wrote the bid, and all these partners' information sort of came in to write that bid. And so there was, by the end of the whole of the sequence of activities, the network that Till had started with was about 120, and it had grown to 350 members. And as I say, we got quite a lot of in-kind support. So what now? Well, here's a twist in the tale. Despite it being a fantastic bid with loads of support, we didn't win the money, unfortunately. However, we did have such a lot of support that we're actually going to follow different pathways now. So there's another couple of UKRI funds we're looking at, and also looking at philanthropy and other sorts of sources of funding. So this thing will happen. I've no doubt about it. So for us as a community of, could be business development people or knowledge transfer, knowledge exchange experts here, what does all this mean for us in our roles? I think that universities are going to have to do more of this. The funders will be asking more of this from us. In our context, I already know of 3 or 4 different bids and networks that are forming, and I don't think you can form them too early. If you know you have a transdisciplinary sort of response in your university, doing this work early so that when the money comes, you're ready. It takes time. This all took 6 months because we had a pre-announcement, but you don't always get that time. So what can we be doing to foster these networks and communities as early as possible? And sometimes we need to take on the role to be that convener and catalyst. We did some praxis oral training on what is it, the essentials of business development, which I recommend, by the way. But what our trainer, Jeff, was saying was that we are facilitators. We bring people together. And maybe we need to do that more about these wicked challenges now. What can we do? What sort of skills do we maybe lack at the moment that we need to develop? And how do we tell our institutions and our funders that this work takes time and energy and skills to do? So let's see how you guys are finding this out there. So we'll kick off with the workshop for you now. So you get to experience a bit of what this is like.
There's a question.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I'll give you the microphone so everyone can hear.
But as you were talking, I was thinking, how did you manage to, and how did you find the process of getting these people together internally, the 40 people, and then the externals for that next session, and then others as well to get that 350 collaborators, because that's no mean feat. And so I work for the National Centre for Universities and Business, helping universities to use our free matchmaking tool, Confer. So I spend all of my time pretty much working with universities to help them to find innovation partners to be able to achieve the projects that they want to achieve. And consistently the challenge internally and externally is, how do I find people in different areas across different disciplines who I know would be interested in this, but I don't have them in my black book. I've never worked with them before, and I've got the same kind of contacts I've built that up over my career, and they really struggle with it. So it's fascinating and amazing that you kind of managed to do this. And I was just wondering how you did that.
Sure. So thank you for the question. And I think we needed, you would have supercharged this work absolutely with the work you do. So because Till already had a sort of cross-disciplinary forum on antimicrobial resistance, that's where we started. So he already had that. As I say, you can't start this work too early. And he would convene seminars, but he would do that with different people from different disciplines, and then everyone would convene around that topic at the time. They weren't workshoppy though, it was a bit more, here's what I'm doing, and sort of learning and sharing sessions. But he had, everybody who had signed up to those, he had already on a list. So that was who we hit first. And then it's a bit like a network effect after that. We had those people, they came to that, then they contacted the people that they knew. So it's that building up of intelligence, like from the nodes of the network. And we had a Teams site that we set up as well, where people could contribute that information. So that sort of hosted, like, became big spreadsheets of partners. You know, business development people will know about these big spreadsheets of partners, right? And then the external partners also submitted their partners. So there was some trust in there, of course, as well, that we were going to, you know, be contacting them about good stuff that was going to be worthwhile, which also takes a bit of time to build up. Yeah. Okay.
So let me see. How many of you still have questions? Just show of hands. 1, 2, 3. Maybe some are cooking, and what we are not going to do now, is answer them straightforward. So we are not going to run this as a Q&A session, okay? If you have a question, and if you still have the same question, if it doesn't change until the end of the workshop today, okay? Claire, for sure, Jenna, me too, we are here to answer those questions. So you can use, you know, like all of the breaks, or you can use our emails and connect over the LinkedIn and dig deep into all of the details that we are willing to share, yeah? And what we want to invite now is for you to taste the experience that these people have come through. So there are about 100 of us in the room, okay? If you only have like 5 years experience in facilitating or trying to facilitate transdisciplinary collaboration and bringing people together to solve problems, it's like 50 years of experience sitting here right now in this room, yeah? And I guess probably we have more, yeah? So we will go over 100. And I think it's really, really kind of overwhelming. Just feel that, you know, I don't know the square size of this room, but there is a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge, and also a lot of maybe limiting beliefs, you know, that you are carrying into this conversation and throughout your experiences. So we do have a question. We're going to lead you into about half an hour conversation that is a little bit similar, like part of what the people were going through in this story and in this project. So we're going to use something that we call a World Cafe process. You are sitting kind of like in a coffee shop, yeah? And you're going to, but it's a taster. Okay, so they were going through a longer process. So get ready to be frustrated. You're going to start feeling the depth of the conversation and the curiosity, and then I'm going to stop you because time's up. Okay, you know when you have a chance to taste, and then actually you need to create a different context to go deeper. So what I want you to remember, Jenna told you, listen to this story, paying attention to how you relate to it. Yeah. So I want you to take like 30 seconds maybe, and there are Post-its also on your table. Okay, just take about 30 seconds, maybe 35, I don't know. Just think a little bit about what did this story evoke in you, okay? So if somebody was transcribing your mind, you know, like what were the thoughts in your head when you were listening to Claire and Jenna? Yeah, like, oh my God, I would never go through that pain. Or, oh my God, I'm inspired. What did they do? And I have like zillion questions, okay? So just like take a Post-it and write down, you know, like in your head, What are the thoughts? Is it doubt? Is it inspiration? Is it a question? Is it a statement? Like, how did you relate to the story? And take 1 or 2 post-its and write down, like your thoughts. Transcribe what's in your head right now. Don't share with the people around the table, just write it down. No conversation yet. Stay with yourself and be honest as you can be in this room with strangers and community members. Yeah, don't show me that. 1, 2, 3 post-its, whatever is coming up. So how do you relate to the story in your head, with your mind, with what you know? And then take another post-it and look into your heart. How do you relate to the story in your heart? What do you feel? Like inspiration, doubt. What's the emotion that was evoked by everything that Claire and Jenny were sharing with you? That's a different post-it. Transcribing your heart. How did it feel? And then you may have or may haven't noticed there is a little flip chart folded on your table, and you can see a head and a heart. So put the thoughts in the head space and put the heart in the heart space. So you just put your post-its in the space. Don't unfold it yet. Just use the head and the heart space. Yeah. Put the post-its that belong to the heart space, and that belong to the head space. And that's an easy one, yeah? So what we are going to do now, we are going to practice a conversation. And before we move on, I'm just going to tell you, when you hear my voice and when you see my hand is up, that means that I am about to give another instruction. Okay? So you just kind of hold your words for a second until I tell you what we are going to do next. Okay? So when you see my hands up, then maybe people around me can help me also put the hands up so that we can silence the room, because you're going to be in a conversation that you might actually care for deeply. Okay? So it's going to be hard to stop you. So what we are using is a cafe principles, and maybe you have noticed there are little cafe principles on the table. When we say we're going to use the cafe methodology, I'm not going to talk about the process a lot, but there are 2 things to know. So the cafe conversations wants to be a friendly, deep conversation among people that care about something that matters to them. Okay, so you are invited to really listen to each other and pay attention, not just to what's inside of you and struggling not just to say what's important for you, but listen to each other and pay attention to what is arising, maybe as a shared pattern, maybe as something that you are relating to together as a different or in a similar way, and make notes and make sure that you hear each other in the limited time as much as you can. And if you feel it's a deeper conversation that doesn't fit into this space today, remember, this here is a limited container, but you are here for at least 2 days now, yeah, so you can reach out to these people and continue these conversations outside of the room. Okay, so whenever you feel that frustration, just remember for that. So I'm going to give you about maybe 5 minutes, maybe even less. Just share among the table what was in your head and heart without deeper conversation. Just share, like do a little screening, okay? Like how did you relate to the story? What's on the little post-its? About 5 minutes as a warm-up, and then I'm going to give you another question, okay? So go, enjoy. So take a few moments to finish your thought, whoever is speaking. Yeah. My hand is up. Invitation to pause. You know, I love that it's hard to stop you. That means that you are probably having a conversation that matters to you. Yeah, it's hard to stop it. So the good news is you are not done yet. But we are just going to build up, okay, on what you have already shared. So what is on the table on these Post-its, it's a little bit of a screening around what's the reality now. So whatever your emotions were, whatever the thoughts in your mind are, they are the result of what you care for, what your experiences are until now. Yeah. So it is a little bit of screening of where are we right now. It's a picture of where we are together in a way. So the converse we are going to, and we could go into, like, why do I feel the way I feel, or why do I think what I think? But that has to do with the past. It's rooted in everything what has happened and what you learned until now, until this moment. And we are talking about the future. So the invitation for the continuation of these conversations, you are staying together at the table, and you might see that if you now unfold your flip chart, okay, at the bottom part, there is a question asking, what's next? Okay, so if these Post-its are telling us where we are right now, okay, so what are we learning from these emotions, of this thinking, about what's next for us as a community? Where do we want to put our effort? What do we need to learn? What do we need to do together as a community? And also, where is the invitation for us as individuals? If this is how we think and feel, is there a message for me in there? Do I need to dare more? Do I need to ask more? Do I need to learn more? Okay, so have a little conversation, seeing what you see on the Post-its, and you can keep it unfolded, okay? So you keep having the conversation that you started. Write down, what do you see as an invitation for us as a community? What's next? And what do you see as an invitation for us as individuals? Like, what's next? So another 8 minutes of conversation, okay, and write down your thoughts. Pick a host at the table who may be responsible for catching everything that is going on, or maybe you can write it together. But write down, you have 2 fields, listen to each other, and let's ask and look for an answer for what's next for us. Okay, 8 minutes, go for it, enjoy. Make sure to write it down. We don't want to lose any idea, okay? So you have about a minute to go. Make sure that you write down, even if you haven't speak about everything, write it down, any ideas you have. Okay, time to finish your thought. How many of you feel you need more time? Frustration, yeah? Remember, I promised you frustration. This is a taster. So what we're going to do now, every table probably has a host, yeah? One person who is the host of the table. Show of hands, just that I know that every table has a host, yeah? Who is the host of the table? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so the people who are the hosts of the table are going to stay at the table. Everybody else, you have, listen to me, this is important, okay? You have 30 seconds to switch a table, and everybody goes to a different one, okay? So you don't travel together. The host stays, everybody else goes to a different table. Don't need to move your stuff. Just go to a different table. Nobody's going. Just leave your stuff, guys. This is about conversation, not about your things. We are not going to let your bag out of the room until you come back to it, okay? Okay. So, some people are still looking for their next spot. So now you have a whole new bunch of perspectives around the table. Potentially, around each table, you have information from at least 3 others. Yeah? So I'm just going to give you about 3 to 4 minutes. So I'm going to ask the host of the table just to present what has come up, okay? And then the others, if something very important has happened at your table, you can add those ideas too. Okay, so this is like literally gathering a little bit around what has happened around the room, and the bigger tables has more information. Okay, so 3 to 4 minutes just to fill up each other. Just one. I'm so curious to hear. It's amazing to witness the energy around your tables. Din, 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 din. Yeah, it's interesting to see, how hands up, expressive body language, deep conversation. Some people don't care. We need to move on. So maybe you noticed, maybe you didn't. 3 A5 post-its have showed up on your table. Okay, so on each table there should be 3 A5 post-its. And the invitation in the next maybe 2 minutes, okay, for you is to converge the conversation. Out of everything that you have shared, what are the 3 next that feel most important? Okay, 1 next per post-it, okay? Just pick out of everything that you have talked about. These are rough ideas, maybe just the beginning of it, okay? So what do you feel are the 3 most important invitations for action? Or what are the most 3 important next for you as a community or for you as an individual? Use the 3 post-its and then I'm going to tell you what to do next. So you have to make a quick decision now.
So do you think still gathering at the back is going to...
Let's play with it. Yeah, we're gonna invite the hosts to bring them and everybody, and then everybody else to move. Yeah. I think we play with it. I can. So just show. Let's take a picture to start with. Just take another minute to look at it. So this is not a make it or break it decision. We are just surfacing what's important. Yeah, so put down your 3 most important what's next. Okay, you can change your mind later. Yeah. If you are wondering where did I disappear, you're going to find me on the other side of the room. Okay. So, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to invite the hosts first, so the table hosts, to stand up and bring your 3 post-its here on the wall. So we are harvesting your table conversations in this corner on the wall. Each table host, if you can, please bring your 3 Post-its, and we're going to gather them here. Okay. So there should be like, there are 12 or 13 tables. There should be at least 13 Post-its and probably 39 if we did the job, yeah? Yeah. Okay. So I love that you love the chat. Remember, you can continue on the break and throughout the 2 days. Now we're going to do something outrageous. I'm going to invite all 100 of you, or I don't know how many, okay? Come closer to this wall, okay? Just stand up, leave your stuff at the table, and come closer to the wall. Everybody just come closer to the wall. So, you remember we said this was a taster, yeah?
No, go for it, yeah.
You remember that what we have done, we wanted to create a space for a conversation for you, and there are things harvested on your tables, plenty of ideas that we can structure and work with later on. And then a digestion of what you feel most important for you right now. If we had more time, if this was a, like a deeper and a longer process, we could go on to work deeper, further, and converge from the next step onward. What we are going to do now is we are going to stop here, and I'm going to hand over to Claire, to kind of help you integrate everything that has happened for you in the last hour and 15.
Yep. So
now we actually, again, because it's a taster, we have to like a little bit like be on time here. So what we're gonna, instead of you guys after the session, welcome to look at the stickies and this wall, and we will actually stick it outside there up front so people can still continue digesting this. But what we wanted to do is now like that process was done, the dialogue. So we want to take a step back again at the beginning of our session and sort of say, reflect on what did we do today. So we welcomed you, then we had a grounding exercise, and we had an energizer. Then we told you our story, and we asked you to listen with hearts and minds. And then we had the whole kind of a dialogue session that actually involved you switching and talking to different people. And then now you have sort of what you have done and have worked on. And the step that we're a little bit now running out of time, we would actually digest some of that a little bit together, like what came out from the whole room. But now, that was what happened today, and Claire.
okay, so just from what I heard when I was earwigging, just for a very quick synthesis, is that people were a bit jealous of the fact that we had so much resource here, which is, I understand that absolutely, but it's kind of, we did bootstrap that a lot as well. So my business development colleagues, we're also like, what the hell are you doing with your time? What's happening to the rest of your work? And I was working harder as a result of doing this. But also, it was towards a bid, so it's my job to help bring people together around bids, I find. But that'll be a bit different for all of us in our different jobs. And there's a lot here, I think, also about getting buy-in from whoever, from funders, from your organizations, from your colleagues, and from the academics to know that this is actually something that's valuable and will help them. And also we had to find each other first. So I got into this by doing some community engagement courses that talked about this kind of stuff, and I thought, wow, that's really important. We actually do this engagement work. How is it done? So I've looked up the Centre for Participatory Leadership, which is how I met Adriana, did some of that training, and Jenny and I met both as students of that training, and we've always just helped each other since. But we do need extra resource to bring these people who know how to do this into our organisations to work with us, our researchers, or whoever we think is most appropriate to try and do this kind of work, if you think it's important as well. And I hear that people do get that, but it's just how. How do we bring that in and scale that up? Okay, so now we are going to just get a takeaway, maybe from a few people. This is sort of called popcorn feedback. So what's one thing you're taking away from today's session, apart from that you're hungry at the moment? Linda, can I start with you?
Well, I think it links very much.
Oh, have we got a mic, sorry?
Yeah,
Oh,
here you go.
Thanks.
I think it links very much to the ecosystems idea. So the idea that you would have this network, very, very niche network, focused on a particular area of, it's hard to say it, but antimicrobial resistance. Really that should expand. It should expand for it to be at least UK, international, and that's a niche ecosystem. And I think other types of ecosystems that are more place-based, I think you might have a different type of expansion, but they're always moving forward. They're always going for that next modular income to expand their means, and they're always building the partnerships. So this is the how to do it, and I really valued you breaking it down in that way, and it resonates with my own practice and Fiona's. We both from Strathclyde.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Another two people before we release you back to the rest of the conference. Anyone else?
I could just add on to that, actually, that ecosystems don't just crop up out of nowhere. They're very slow, long processes of building, and we talked a lot about respecting that process, that it takes time, it's slow, it's long, and there might not be a successful funding bid at the end, and that's okay, because that's all part of that process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone want
Anyone
the closing
else?
word? No, all too hungry now? All right, so Jenny, over to you to close us out then.
Okay, so as a part of the, us going through that process and being all together, can we bring all our hands up here into the center? Our circle is a little crooked, and do a clap together.
And we're gone.
Thank you very much.
Well done, everybody.